welcome to the PMI Podcast. I'm Georgina Kemsley, and I'm here today with Jonathan Watts-Ley, Director and one of the original founders of Wealth at Work. Today's topic is supporting members to make the right decisions in turbulent times. Now, Jonathan, I'm going to jump straight in with the first question, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are the key considerations for members approaching retirement at the current time?
The first thing they need to think about is how much money they want in retirement, because unless they have some idea as to the sort of income that they think they will need, it's hard to progress any further. So that's the first stage. The next stage is then really looking at what funds they have available. So that will be a case of looking at all of their pensions. And of course, a lot of people may have had a number of pensions in the past. They might have different types of pensions as well. So they might have a mix of defined contribution schemes and final salary schemes. And of course, they should also look at their state pension. So if they haven't done so, they should go onto the government's site and get their state pension forecast, because for a lot of people, that could actually be quite a large amount of their pension income as they go into retirement. So the first thing is to look at all of that and see what that is worth. In addition to the pensions, they should also look at any other savings they may have. So typically people might have ISAs, for example, or they might have other general savings. So again, some of that money may be put towards income in retirement. And once they've got a good view of all of those different assets and the value of those different assets, they can then start to look at actually whether that's going to drive the income that they think that they will need in retirement. And of course, that will then drive other decisions, because if they're a million miles away from the income that they want, then they might have to consider other things. So, for example, should they carry on working for a bit longer and making additional pension contributions so that maybe in another 3, 4, 5 years' time, they are in a better position to afford the retirement they want.
Okay. And how can employers, trustees and pension funds help members make the best decisions?
I think the key thing is making sure that individuals and members actually understand what options they have available to them. So since 2015, we've had freedom and choice legislation come in. And of course, that's given a lot of flexibility, which is a great thing. And people like that flexibility. However, many of them don't really understand what the options are within that flexibility. So if you look at things like, should they buy an annuity? Should they go into drawdown? Should they be taking all their tax-free cash in one go? What are the tax situations of the various options? People tend to have a very, very poor understanding of that. So in order for them to actually have a rounded view as to what options might be right for them, it's important that trustees and employers put in some sort of financial education around retirement, so that people can really understand what those options are, and they can understand the upside and the downside to those options, because it's very unlikely that there's any one option that will be almost like the slam dunk answer for somebody. Often it may be a combination of, or actually they're trading off certain things, again, depending on what sort of pension schemes may be actually contributing to that income in the first place.
Right. And whereabouts can people educate themselves on these sort of subjects?
Yeah, so a lot of organisations that we work with and a lot of pension schemes that we work with will basically put in a 3-stage process. So that the first stage is very much the financial education bit. So typically that might be seminars, which these days tend to be online seminars, albeit they could be face-to-face. Often there's a lot of additional tools as well. Videos quite popular, animations are quite popular. So anything really that starts giving those individuals an understanding of some of the decisions that they need to make and actually what might influence those decisions. Secondly, guidance, because what a lot of people will say once they've actually looked through some of this stuff or they've been to a seminar, they often say, well, actually, what I really want to do now is have a chat with someone, just talk to someone. So guidance provision has actually grown exponentially over the last 2 or 3 years. And again, can be delivered in a number of ways. Probably the most popular is over the phone, but it could be video. I mean, it could be face-to-face as well. And then the third part is regulated financial advice. So there will be some people that will get to the point of going, right, I think I really understand this, but I really want someone to help me work through all the numbers. I really want somebody to effectively recommend what I should be doing. So having that 3-stage approach is probably the most robust way to implement this type of program.
Okay, and what exactly is the best practice for how to select a provider?
I think the key thing is, if we go back to those three elements, I guess the key thing is finding a provider that offers all three, because there are providers out there that may offer one but not the other two, or two but not the third. So if you want a real comprehensive approach to this, then I guess the first thing is, can they offer all three of those? I think the other really important thing is experience within the workplace as well. So have they done it before? Can they provide metrics on the success of it? So that level of due diligence with past users, I think, is very important. And I think that certainly when you get down into the regulated advice area, then of course due diligence should cover things like what is the compliance process for signing off that advice. We always believe that advice should be compliance checked 100% pre any transaction being done, but that is not the industry norm. So again, depending on what sort of standards you want to set for your program, that may be something that you want to look at. Also, regulatory record of the firm that you're using. It's really important to understand, have there been any issues in the past? And if there have, then that might be a reason why you don't want to use that particular firm. So there's a lot of questions, I think, within due diligence that either the employer or the scheme would need to go through before they make that selection.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, no worries. Thanks, Georgina. Okay, you're welcome.
All right. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.